So hi Souptik, welcome to
Hello.
Unacademy CAT-alyst. So I'm Nilanjan Datta, and today on behalf of the Unacademy team, I'll be conducting a short interview of you to understand how you performed well in CAT. So for everybody's information, so Souptik is a CAT 99 plus percentiler. He's already converted a number of top B schools, including IIM Shillong, NITI, and a few others are in the pipeline. So today he'll be talking about how he prepared for CAT and for a GDPI period. And I'm hopeful that it'll be very useful information for all of you preparing for CAT in the subsequent years. So welcome, Souptik. So first of all, congratulations. And so tell me, when you scored a 99 plus percentile, what was your first reaction to your results?
So this was the third time I was giving CAT. Now, usually what happened was in the first time when I gave CAT, it was 98 percentile. The second time it actually dipped down. It was 97 percentile. So this time I was like struggling to at least go back to the former position, 98 percentile. But when I saw 99 plus, then I thought, wow, at least I could meet the panelists of the top B schools.
Okay, so a lot of people every year tend to get stuck at this 97, 96, 98 mark. What exactly do they need to work on so that they can move on to 99 plus category? Which section do you think needs the most importance to be given?
So this, I would rather say this is a subjective question.
Okay.
It depends upon which section that particular person or that particular candidate is weak in.
So which is your weakest section and how did you tackle that?
My weakest section was VARC.
Okay. And how did you tackle it?
Yes, now in VRC, what I realized was that, so as I said that I gave CAT twice. So what I realized was that in VRC, there are actually three components, or rather there are three people in that VRC section or the VRC question. One is the author who is writing that article. Okay. The second is the candidate who is solving the questions. And the third candidate, or the third person who usually goes unnoticed, is the question setter. Okay. Now, we usually think about the fact that we need to put our feet or we need to empathize with the author. But the thing is that we need to empathize with the question setter. See, when the author was writing that article, his audience or his customers were a certain group of people, or it may be the general audience. He did not anticipate that his article or piece of article would be shared in a CAT question, in a tough setup. Okay. So it is not enough to understand the author's opinion. It is usually important to understand that what the question setter wants us to know about the author's opinion.
And how do you get a good hang of that? Is it through mock tests or is it through reading books or passages? How do you get a hang of that?
So I took up a hobby. That hobby became like, reading business books or biographies of Silicon Valley leaders. Like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, like those people. So usually what I did was I got a hang of those English structures, of those comprehensive structures. That was okay. But if I come to the opinion part, I quickly grasped after I started reading the editorials of newspapers. For example, let's say I'm reading about a piece of news, like let's say the farmers' bills. Okay, it is not enough to understand one opinion. We have to look at multiple opinions on multiple newspapers to get a hang of that opinionated thing. Because ultimately we are going to put ourselves in the feet of the people who wrote the article or the question setter.
Okay. So you believe that reading our habits and reading articles is very important for the VRC section?
Yes, I would definitely say that. The reason I would say that is because once we read continuously, see, reading can happen like I read once a week or once in a month. Like let's say once in a month I read one whole book, or once in a week I am reading 2 to 3 articles. No, that is not the way one should practice. It is a continuous thing. We need to endure our continuation of studying. Okay, I would say that we can pick up one article or 1 to 2 articles per day, and then we can study them well. Okay, so it's like that. It is not firstly, when I read an article, it doesn't matter, the level of complexity doesn't matter right now. I took up an article, I read it, and I got in resonance with the English structures. Okay, now when I will attempt a VRC section, which I've usually seen is that my questions, the number of questions which I will get correct are 1 or 2 more. Okay, so it is not that I read a literature article and then I attempted a literature RCS question. No, that is not the way. I can read any. I have seen that in my case that I doesn't matter. I read any of the newspaper or any of my business books. After that, I just attempted a question section and I got at least 1 or 2 questions more correct than the
So
usual.
general, so since you were a working professional, right? So for in general, for most of the working professionals who are preparing for CAT, okay. So how many hours do you think they should devote to their CAT preparations in a day or in a week?
I would rather say this is also a subjective question.
Okay.
It depends upon how much time one person can devote, because working professionals are usually very busy and the type of jobs which they do are usually, quite drains the brain out totally.
Right.
At the end of the day, people would just go to their beds and sleep.
Right.
So what I used to do is that I used to take short power naps, like a nap of 1 or 2 hours at 12 a.m. and I woke up at 3 a.m. Sorry, and I started solving certain questions. After that, I again slept for 1 or 2 hours and again I re-attempted the question. So this continuous charging of the body, if you can make it a practice, then it helps actually in the longer run.
So did you take any mock tests? Do you think test series is important in your preparation, taking mock tests regularly?
Yes. Mock tests will give us the feedback that where we are at a certain point of time. Like I gave a mock test in the month of May, okay, and I saw that my RC section was very poor. So what I did, I went back to my strategies. I read books and I read those opinions. I formed opinions, and after that, I gave 2 mock tests in June, in the month of June. I saw that the percentile was going up. Okay, again, then I gave 4 or 5 mock tests in the month of July. So we need to increase the number of mock tests as the month of November comes closer. Okay.
Okay, so you're saying continuously increase the number of mock tests that somebody is taking.
Yes. That I would suggest. That is because see, it is like a mock test. So we give a mock test in a certain scenario or in a certain mental atmosphere. Okay. Now it might be that on a certain day or on the day of our CAT examination, our mental or the pressure which we are into, it is of a certain type. Okay, we might not be at our best state. So if we give mock test at different mental states, that is what I would propose. If we give CAT in certain different mental atmospheres, then we would be rather prepared for that kind of scenario which might happen in the actual CAT exam. Because I have heard people saying that I became negative, so that's why I could not do well in the exam. See, here we are talking about an exam which comes in 1 year. Okay, 1 year, the time of 1 year is very significant. So it's best to prepare ourselves for every situation we can do.
So you've also, after CAT, you've also gone on to convert your interview. So what do you have to say about the GDPI phase? Is it more difficult compared to cracking CAT, or is it like, how do you prepare for the GDPI phase and how difficult is that getting into a final convert?
Yes, GDPI phase is a bit more difficult. It is level 2 because logically, if you see the people, like let's say there are many 99 percentilers. Okay, out of those 99 percentilers, the top IIMs would filter out a few. So definitely the GDPI section will be tougher. So what I can tell you is that the GDPI is usually it consists of certain parts. Like there is one part called GK. There is static GK and as well as current affairs. The second part is our domain and industry knowledge. And the third part is the HR section. Now for preparing the first part or the GK, I used to do group study. I had just shared one doc file on a cloud platform and I had added many friends. So people who used to, people whenever they find one interesting business article, they just update it. And by this way, the effort which per person used to put in making that current affairs document was becoming less.
Do you believe group study helps in CAT as well as in GDPI?
In GDPI, I have seen definitely it helps. As I said that the amount of time is reduced per person. The amount of efforts is reduced per person so that we can focus on the areas which are personal to us, like our domain knowledge. It is not that my friend and I are working in the same industry, right? So the domain knowledge and the HR questions like introduce myself, strengths and weaknesses, these are to be prepared personally. So it's best to leverage out our tasks as much as we can. Now, in case of CAT, I did not do much group studies. I did, but not quite significant. So I possibly cannot comment on that.
So, based on you must have observed CAT aspirants over the years, right? Since you've been taking CAT 2-3 times now. So, what are some? If you had to name, come up with 2 biggest common mistakes that CAT aspirants make in their preparation, which they should avoid, what would they be?
Let us understand this fact that these B schools, they are selecting candidates for a business environment. Now, business environment has ups and downs. Okay, it is not that how fast we run. It is the fact. It is what happens at the end of the day is what is seen at the end of the day is whether we can endure our pace or not. CAT preparation is like that only. In the previous year when I gave CAT, the biggest mistake which I did was that the reason why my percentile dipped below. The reason is that I was not endurant enough. Okay, I used to sit on weekends for 2 to 3 hours, and then 2 or 3 weekends I missed out. I did not even look at the books, or I did not even give mock tests. Okay, so these are the loopholes. These are very small loopholes which people overlook, but I would say that these loopholes, when you compound them collectively, when you append them collectively, it gives a better return compoundedly at the end of the day. Okay. Also, the fact that people need to understand their position, where the position is, that can be only given via mock tests. I have personally seen people who start giving mock tests from the month of August or September, when the exam of CAT is in November. I would say that mock tests will give us feedback. Okay, feedback that where we stand and how far we need to go. So if we give just at the nick of time, it will not help us much, because we have to again ramp up our progress. And given the scenario with the working professionals, it is not possible always to ramp up our CAT preparation, leaving the personal course.
A lot of students over the last few years have been complaining about the DILR section being very difficult. Okay, a lot of sets have been very difficult in DILR over the last 2-3 years or 4-5 years. Okay, what is your take on that? How does somebody tackle the kind of sets that have been coming in DILR in the last few years?
So DILR, these sets have various parts. Like there are many types of questions. Okay, there are logical reasoning questions, then there are data interpretation questions, then there are like puzzles, sitting arrangements, all those things. During preparation, we need to understand. Again, this is again I am focusing on mocks here, because from mocks only we get to understand that which part we can solve quickly, which part we can. So the parts which we can solve quickly, okay, we must keep a note of those types of questions. Now, in the CAT exam, we need to first attack those types of questions only. Okay. In the DILR section, if we see that within the first 4 minutes, we could not, or within the first 5 to 6 minutes, we could not make out one question, then we must just leave that passage completely and move on to the next passage. Usually what happens is that in the DILR section, people sometimes because of this complexity, people spend 15 to 20 minutes on one particular set, which is not at all, which is not at all excusable in a 40 minutes exam like that, which is, in a 40 minute sectional time. This year it was 40 minutes per section. So you are investing half of the time and then questions are not coming out.
So you're from an engineering background and now you'll be going for an MBA program. So what is your take on doing an MBA after engineering?
In the industry where I am, this is the semiconductor industry. So I am both a design engineer as well as I am a production engineer. Now in the production engineer, I have to look after certain tasks both while designing as well as production, or the concepts like Six Sigma and all. Okay. Now Six Sigma, it usually comes under the operations management course. So for my case, it was a bit aligned with my industry. I used to do these Six Sigma things only. I used to practice those reduction of defects, reduction of wastes and all in my industry itself. So right now I want to go to, I want to invest in education, in my education, in these Six Sigma concepts and these operations concepts, so that I can scale up my skills and capabilities in this sector.
So where do you see yourself few years from now, like 5 years from now? Where do you see yourself? What kind of career path are you planning to look at post MBA? So do you have anything in your mind?
Yes, right now, post MBA, my objective is to become a consultant in the procurement domain or in the operations domain, so that I can understand the errors or the problems which the operation managers face. Okay, and after that, I would like to switch to core operations domain. I want to leave my consulting job and then I want to switch to a core operations domain. So from there, when I go from a consultant to a manager, I would say that I would have a better idea of where those problems can arise, where those errors can arise. So after that, I think my handling of errors would be quite easier. Now I am talking in the time span of like 8 to 10 years. Maybe I would be in the consulting industry for the next 5 years post MBA, and after that I would I want to go in the operations domain.
So Souptik, all the very best for your future endeavors. Congratulations once again. I'm sure whatever you shared, the insights, that will be very useful for all the aspirants. One thing that comes out of the conversation is that mock test is going to be very important for everybody to start taking the mock test very seriously. Maybe right now, May, June is the time to start the mock test. What do you say, Souptik?
Yes. So this is today's May.
Right.
This is so yeah, May we can give at least one mock test to see where we stand.
So everybody, I hope you've heard Souptik. He's shared a lot of insights into what you need to do for CAT as well as converting your B school calls. So with that, we'll be concluding this interview today. Thanks, Souptik, for your time and all the best once again.